Hello, and welcome back to another exciting and riveting episode of Coffee and Cuddles. I am Craig, aka Coffee, and by my side is the effervescent, ebullient, always lovely, always fresh Cuddles, aka Anna Marie.
Ebullient?
Ebullient, I don't know. It sounded good.
Oh, okay. I need a dictionary now, I feel like.
Probably.
So, something very important to announce, and of course, by the time you hear this, it will be past that monumentous occasion. But today is Coffee, aka Craig's birthday. Yay! What was it that your grandmother used to say?
Don't get old, it's not worth it. But we were always left with the question, well, what's the alternative?
That's true.
I agree with her sentiment as I creep closer to old ageitude.
Old age too.
Old ageitude. It's totally a thing. Trust
Okay.
me, put the phone down. You don't need to look that up.
I'm not looking it up.
All right. Don't make me mansplain to you.
Well, don't make me. What? Anyway.
Elaborate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, that's going to take a while to catch on. So
It's got to start somewhere.
Hopefully everybody survived their turkey coma. Unfortunately, I was not able to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner yesterday because I had some wicked anxiety attack that kind of left me bedridden for the whole day. But that's okay because we are going to do take 2 or part 2 or the next episode today, something like that.
No turkey trots for us?
No.
Okay.
No. But that's okay because we tested to make sure that I'm okay by going out and having some really delicious turkey French dips.
We went to Philippe's the Original. Now, I don't want to keep this restaurant from the entire world. However, I would like to have them institute a policy of no tourist day so the people that actually live here can get into the restaurant and not have to wait outside the building. I know that's not fair, and I don't care. It's my birthday. I'm allowed to be difficult in ordering on my birthday.
Yes, you are.
If not today, then what day, I ask you?
Exactly.
The only issue was they didn't have their chocolate cream pie, which is, honestly, that's the reason everybody goes there. I mean, sure, it's a French dip place, but if we're being honest, no one really goes there to eat the food. They go to eat the desserts. And this chocolate cream pie is to die for. It's fluffy, it's light, it's airy, it's just
the right amount of chocolate.
Just the right amount of chocolate where you don't have to feel like you have to actually like chew, which I know this is a silly thing to say about a dessert, but this is more like melt in your mouth, and it's not dark chocolate, so it's not bitter, it's not overpowering. The crust is flaky and nice. It's the perfect end to a meal anywhere. But we made up for that. We went to the Torrance Bakery, and my amazing girlfriend bought me a chocolate torte cake thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's chocolatey, it's fudgy.
It's basically a chocolate cake with a fudge middle and then chocolate icing.
I thought it's something about pudding on the fudge pudding, maybe? I thought there was pudding in it. I don't know.
We'll find out when we cut into it.
We certainly will.
Unless, of course, you stuck your fingers in it when I wasn't looking.
I did not.
Right.
I was good for once. And then we finished off the outing. I don't want to say finished off the eating because there's still miles to go before we sleep. It is 7:00 on the West Coast as we're recording this. We went to a new coffee place. We were going to go to one, and it was jam-packed inside, and there wasn't a lot of places to sit. So we said, all right. And we drove down the road a little bit. We found a place called Solid Coffee Roasters. Easy for me to say. But just a little, I don't want to use the word hole in the wall because that's not the right image that I want to create in your mind. But it's just a little nondescript. It's not even really a hip place. It's just they got a coffee bar and they've got the unfinished the ceiling. I don't know. There's chairs and there's some benches to set up, but it's a really, as the children say, it's a really chill vibe. I think I can say that. But the coffee was outstanding. the two girls working the counter were very good at their coffee craft, and they're very knowledgeable about their what they sell and everything, which is a funny thing to say. But if you went to what rhymes with Star Sucks, where the coffee is burnt or it tastes burnt and it's overpriced, and the only reason all the flavors exist is to cover up the taste of the coffee. In my humble opinion, anyway. I've had enough cups of coffee where I feel like I'm some kind of expert on it, of what tastes good and what doesn't. And then if that's what you drink, I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not good coffee. The following was an opinion of one of our hosts, not necessarily that of the show.
So, okay, let's do this. Why don't we look at how making coffee kind of mirrors a relationship?
Okay.
So you're the coffee drinker between the two of us.
Yes.
I'm the coffee, hey, do you want to try this person?
Well,
So
you're also the one that gets coffee from your teachers, assistants, and parents at school. Although I don't know if that's more dessert than coffee that you're actually getting, because you get the caramel, chocolate, sprinkles.
okay, that's the thing that
crack.
that's the thing that I like to order.
Okay.
So I've had a parent last year who was constantly showing up with coffee drinks, although I can't say for sure how much coffee was in it, but it gave me a nice little jolt of energy to get through the rest of the day. So
Our legal department says there was just enough coffee in the beverage to call it coffee.
I can't be sure how much coffee was actually in it.
Right. Just enough.
Just enough.
Just enough so we can call it coffee.
Okay. Well, since you're the coffee connoisseur, why don't you explain how to brew coffee, and then I'll try to chime in with how that mirrors a relationship.
Okay. I've always been told that coffee starts with the beans, which is kind of obvious. If you start off with a solid base of good beans and filtered water, and make sure all your brewing equipment is clean and in good order, everything works properly, then you will have a good cup of coffee. Now, to me, the better the actual coffee tastes, the less stuff I need to put in the cup. And it's funny, when I go out to a restaurant where they brew the coffee almost in an industrial way, I can drink diner coffee either black or with a little bit of cream, or half and half, and some. I don't add any sweetener when I'm out, which is weird. If I go to a place like the aforementioned, sometimes I'll add sweetener, sometimes I'll add in mix-ins and flavors and whatever. And in home, I don't use milk or creamer anymore. I don't use sugar. I figured it out once. I was getting like thousands of calories a day just from the sugar I was putting in the coffee, because it was like two or 3 or 4 teaspoons of sugar per cup. And I was drinking, out of a pot, I would drink 2 or 3 cups. So that's like 12 to 16 teaspoons of sugar. It was an insane amount of calories I was getting just from coffee. So being a type 2 diabetic, I'm not as good as I should be. And I know we mentioned cake and everything, and once in a while it's not bad, but I find that the better the coffee is, the less stuff I have to put into it.
Okay, I got this.
Okay.
So, when you're trying to develop trust in a relationship, you have to start off with a good base, like you mentioned with coffee.
Yes.
So both parties have to come in trusting the other person.
They have to trust the process.
Exactly. So it doesn't help if one person's going all in and being honest about everything that they have been through and honestly answering all questions, and the other person's just kind of mirroring it with a lot of different flavors.
Yes.
So adding all the sweeteners and the creams and the syrups.
And syrups, yes.
Which is basically faking what's really going on underneath.
I like that. I like that. That's a good connection.
Thank you.
A lot of people do fake it. I like to use the term go along to get along.
Yes.
Where they're agreeable about everything and nothing is a problem and nothing bothers them. And whatever you want to do is fine, which is a lot of bunk.
So anytime I've said that, I've been giving you bunk.
No. I don't think that you and I had that at all.
Oh.
There are times when you'll say I'm fine and I know you're not, but I've also learned how to read your signals or your signs or whatever. I've kind of learned through the act of actually listening and paying attention to what you're saying. And I heard today somebody said that women don't always say what they mean. They say what they're feeling at the time. And I guess a good partner would be able to pick up on that and say, okay, she's speaking from emotion or whatever, which is kind of like a strong brewed coffee versus a weak brewed coffee or whatever. So it's all about how strong things are. And I think I'm kind of muddying your point, but I take your point to, if you don't put quality ingredients in, you're going to get a crappy cup of coffee out.
Oh, I like that anecdote. Very good. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had a coffee disaster where it just went wrong from the get-go?
Not from the get-go, but I remember I was driving home from some kind of holiday or whatever. We'd stopped at one of the Parkway gas station things. I made this amazing cup of coffee. And at the time, I didn't know any better. I was still adding a lot of stuff to it, but it tasted good. I added I added like a chocolate creamer, and it was just the perfect temperature. And I put it in the cup holder that used to hang on the side of the window on the door. And as I was driving, I hit the cup and it landed on my feet.
Oh.
So like perfect cup of coffee is now on the floorboard.
So I guess you need to learn to be a little patient.
Very much so. Yes.
So basically, a relationship needs to not only have trust, but there's got to be patience. And when things don't exactly go the way you plan, like knocking the coffee cup and getting it all over your feet, you just need to catch your breath, realize this is not the be all end all, and just forge ahead. Or in this case, clean your shoes.
Clean my shoes, yes.
There you go. So let me ask you another question. Why is it so, and I'm only asking you this because I know that you know about coffee, but why is it so important that there has to be consistency when you're getting coffee? Why can't they do it one way one day and then the next day do it a completely different way?
Well, why would you want something that you had to worry about? Is this going to be a good coffee or a terrible coffee?
That's true.
So you never know. I know some people wake up in the morning and they wonder which partner am I getting today?
Oh, okay. So
And
it's kind of like,
I'm not saying that your mood always has to be the same, but there's got to be some kind of balance, or to use your word, there's got to be some kind of consistency in how you act. If you're erratic all the time, then there's no way that your partner can ever get their footing and know how to work with you. And I hate to use the term deal with you. And I tell you that all the time. Thank you for dealing with me, or thank you for putting up with my moods or whatever. And you tell me that you're not putting up with it. This is part of a strong relationship or a great cup of coffee. This is all part and parcel.
Exactly. So I guess if I was going to try to mirror that story or that explanation with being trustworthy in a relationship, you can't be trustworthy week one and then the next week go to being kind of sneaky and can't think of what the word is, devious, and then go back to week 3 where you're being trustworthy, because then, like you said, you never know if you're going to get a good cup of coffee or a weak cup of coffee.
Exactly. And there's a lot of things that a solid relationship can overcome. And I'm not saying that once that trust is gone, it can't be regained, but I think it's next to impossible to totally regain that trust with somebody that's burned you or hurt you, or like a hot coffee that's too hot that scalded you. You always can be a little trepidatious when you reach for the cup. It's like, am I going to get burned this time? So love covers, there's a saying that love covers a multitude of sins, and that's fine. You can forgive your partner, but I don't know that you ever truly forget or you ever truly regain that trust once it's lost.
That's true.
Fortunately for us, we've never had that problem. And I've said it time and time again. I see these reels on Facebook about all these trifling men and women, mostly women. And I'm not pointing, I'm not picking on one gender or the other. Just, this is how the reels are, where there's all these games that women play, or there's all these tests that people do. And we talked about this before about, how much testing is too much testing of a relationship before you just like, you know what, I'm out, and you tap out and you're done.
Right.
So I am thankful every day that you and I don't do that. And I will ask you, I'll be reading something about couples and I'll say, do I do this to you? And not that I know or I don't know, but I want to be sure that it's not just my own understanding that I'm leaning on. Because in my mind, I may say, hey, this is the best damn cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. And you sip it and you're like, ew, what is this dirty dishwater you're drinking?
I've never once referred to coffee as dirty dishwasher.
No.
Dishwater.
Dishwater.
Thank you.
Nor
I mean, I may have made a face or two because I can understand why you thought it was good.
Exactly. So,
but that's just me, because I'm not really that much of a coffee person.
Right. Well, we can make this about tea. You and I have tried the new sleek and slender tea, or the skinny tea, or the no sugar tea, or whatever. And it was different. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not a tea drinker. I drink when I don't feel well or I have a sore throat. I will drink the green tea dust in the little paper bag. And I know that's not real tea, or that's not what's considered real tea. That's just like, this is the stuff that they sweep up off the floor of the tea shop.
Ew!
It's all
No,
dust.
no,
actual leaves in there.
yuck, stop it. That's just
all right.
Great. That's going to put me right off tea.
I've made my point. I'm good.
Okay, you know what? That's making me think of how being inconsistent can lead to a misunderstanding. So you said it's the green tea, coffee dust, the stuff that they sweep off the floor. So if they're not giving you quality ingredients, then it's going to lead to you not really knowing what to expect when you go.
Exactly.
You're not going to know, am I getting quality ingredients this time, or are they just kind of winging it?
Right. Exactly. Is my partner, spouse, whatever, giving me like the best of what they have, or are they just more like phoning it in and just doing enough to get by?
I mean, I don't think we've really had any inconsistencies.
I don't think so. I've always said, and people look at us kind of funny, but I've always maintained that every once in a while I will go back and look at those first conversations we had, where I took screenshots of or the actual conversations, and I always say that you and I have been us since day one. We've never not been us. Doesn't matter if either one of us are sick or having an off day or whatever. We've always had the ability to put those things aside and put quality ingredients into the cup for the other person. I will never give you like no frills coffee or no frills tea or whatever. I will always give you the best ingredients that I can, based on my ability to do that for you.
So that'll keep me coming back for more.
Exactly. If you went to a place that constantly served weak tea if you'll excuse the parlance, you wouldn't keep going there.
No,
At some point you're like, all right, this is not worth it. It's not worth the drive. It's not worth the trouble to find parking. It's not worth the time to deal with the person behind the counter. You just say, you know what, I'm out, and you won't bother going back there anymore. You won't keep coming back to something that's a problem.
that's true. So back to coffee. So you've mentioned good cups of coffee, weak cups of coffee, but how do you handle it when you go to get a cup of coffee and it's bitter?
That's a good question, man. I think you have to look
I'm sure you've had bitter coffee at one point.
Yes, I have. Most black coffee is bitter. And I don't know, aside from adding stuff to it, I don't know if there's a way to make it less bitter. Someone has mentioned like a sprinkle of salt takes away the bitterness. Some people have said putting butter in it makes it less bitter. I've never tried. I've never been that desperate to try it. So normally I will add mix-ins to take away the bitterness. Sugar, creamer, something that tones down the bitterness.
So
how would you, sorry for stepping over you, but how would you equate that to if I'm coming at you with a bitter attitude?
ooh, that's a good one. With a bitter attitude, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Just full of pea and vinegar.
Now hold on. We don't know if we've got youngsters listening to this.
That's why I use that word.
Okay. So I guess you're asking me how would I handle a conflict?
Yeah, if I was just in a nasty mood and I was taking it out on you.
Just try to listen to what you're saying, like what you said earlier that you've done with me, and just try to look for a way to bring it back to a good cup of coffee. So I'm thinking like yesterday. Remember, I took McCoy out and somebody else was walking a dog. The dog got away and came rushing over.
Mm-hmm.
I got scared because all I saw was a dog's teeth coming straight at me and McCoy. That's all I could see. And it sent me into a really just wickedly horrible anxiety attack to the point that I couldn't keep anything down. I was so stressed out. I had chills and shivers. I was a mess. And I remember you were checking on me and you asked if I was going to eat anything. And I said, I really didn't think I could eat. And then you had made this comment about then why did I cook all this food? And at that point, the first thing I thought of is, I could go out there and try to talk, but that might just increase what's going on in his head, or I could just let him say his piece, and then when we're both ready to hear each other, then we go back and talk about it.
Right. And that's why I said in the email last night, we're trying to not go to bed angry in this house. And I know that's easy to say, harder to do sometimes. I knew that I was wrong and I was coming from a place of bitterness and a little bit of hurt. And I knew better. I knew that it wasn't your fault for being sick. And I knew that you weren't faking it. And a lot of my attitude was influenced by things that happened in my past. And I try very hard to not dwell on those things, or I've done a lot of housekeeping and I've swept out the corners and I've gotten rid of the cobwebs and all the nasty things. And there's still a lingering ick, for lack of a better term. And I'm trying very hard to overcome that. And because you and I have this relationship that we do and we talk about things, I'm working through it, and I'm making more and more consistent coffees as I go. I try very hard to not be negative or not be bitter. And it's human nature. You're going to be hurt and you're going to come from a place of being hurt. and it's natural. And I'm not saying it's okay or it's fine to be that way, but it's a natural state of being. Sometimes when you're hurt and your first instinct is to lash out, and it's not a healthy thing to do. It's not a good thing to do. So you need to find ways of brewing differently or adjusting the recipe of your coffee when it comes to that. Okay, what could I do instead, or how should I handle this instead? That's just my 2 cents.
Sometimes what I have found helps when we're kind of falling into that bitter cup is to just throw something unexpected and silly right back. Kind of like putting sweetener in coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that like snaps you right back because it's really hard to make you laugh. No, but now I'm not saying that if somebody is upset with you that you crack a joke, because that doesn't always help. You have to gauge the other person to know, is this going to work?
You have to be able to read the room.
Exactly.
Like, am I going to make him laugh? Or am I going to make him even worse than he is? And you've got like a 99.99% success rate with that. There's been a few times where I didn't laugh, but normally you can snap me out of it with a joke or two. And I do the same thing with you. I'll make a face at you or whatever it is. And like, oh, okay, we're good now. And then we laugh.
We could probably go on and on and on. And actually, I think this topic is good for a part 2. What do you think?
I think so. I think there's plenty more to unpack yet. Or
definitely
more to throw in the coffee grinder and see what comes out.
Ooh, throw it in the coffee grinder. I like that. Well, as always, this is just our own 2 cents.
Your mileage may vary.
But tune in next time for
maybe part 2. Maybe we'll save this for somewhere down the road. Who knows? You never know when we'll come back to this.
That's true. Maybe we'll have to go out for coffee again.
I like that. And we in no way profit from solid coffee roasters, but if they want to give us free tea or coffee, we won't say no.
And we in no way benefit from Torrance Bakery either, or from Philippe's.
That's true.
But you know what? Sometimes we name drop.
As always, we appreciate you listening. We love each and every one of you. We hope you have a good week, and God bless.
Bye.